The sky was silver the morning I received the wedding invitation, the kind of sky that felt heavy even without rain. I was in the kitchen, feeding the stray cat that always waited by my door, when I noticed the envelope wedged under the mat. My name was written in my son's handwriting, sharp and rushed, like he couldn't wait to be done. I smiled before I even opened it, imagining the joy of finally seeing him marry, imagining what I'd wear, how I'd pin back my hair, maybe even ask the neighbor's daughter to help with my makeup. But my smile faded as I read the words. You are invited to attend the wedding ceremony of Nathaniel James and Eliza Moore. Please wear formal attire. Media and photographers will be present. We kindly request all guests to respect the dress code and overall aesthetic of the event. And then, in handwriting at the bottom, Mom, I know how much this means to you, but I need the day to look perfect. I hope you understand if you choose not to come. For a long moment, I just stood there, unable to breathe. My fingers tightened around the paper, my body stiffening like it had been slapped. I sat down, the kitchen chair creaking under me, and read the line again. If you choose not to come. I wanted to scream, but instead, I laughed, a short, broken sound that echoed against the quiet walls. After everything I had given him, after all the nights I worked late cleaning offices, missing meals so he could eat, walking in rain with torn shoes just to make sure his science fair project had glitter and glue, he was ashamed of me. I was now the wrong aesthetic. I stared at the fridge, at the old picture of us stuck on it with a magnet. Nathaniel had braces then and was missing one front tooth, hugging me with a crooked, gap-toothed grin. And now he didn't want me at his wedding because I wouldn't look good in photos. That night, I sat in the dark, my only light coming from the flickering bulb above the sink. I made tea, but forgot to drink it. I just sat, staring into nothing, feeling the walls of my tiny home closing in. I remembered all his birthdays I planned, all the scraped knees I kissed, the times he called me his best friend, the promises he made to take care of me when I was old. I wondered when I became an eyesore. Was it when my hair turned gray? When my hands lost their softness from scrubbing floors for strangers? I raised a boy with dreams, but I didn't think those dreams would include erasing me. My chest ached with a pain deeper than heartbreak. It was the grief of being alive but discarded. Still, I pressed my hands together and whispered a prayer. I decided I would go, not to make a scene but to leave something behind. I had spent 3 weeks embroidering a piece of white cloth with their names and a message from his childhood. Home is wherever Mom is. The morning of the wedding, I woke early, bathed, and put on my best dress, navy blue with tiny silver threads. It was clean and carefully pressed. I straightened my back, pinned my hair up, and touched my lips with faded red lipstick. My reflection in the mirror looked old, but kind. I walked to the bus, stopped holding the wrapped gift gently. The venue was massive, filled with glass and gold, the kind of place where stories are curated like museum pieces. I walked inside, feeling like a shadow. Heads turned. Some guests smiled awkwardly. Others whispered behind their hands. I scanned the crowd and found him, Nathaniel, my son, standing tall in his tuxedo. Our eyes met. His face didn't light up. He looked alarmed, then embarrassed. Within seconds, he whispered to someone. A staff member in a black suit approached me, expression polite but firm. Ma'am, could I ask you to wait outside?
Just for a while, he said.
I nodded, swallowing the sting. I walked out of the hall and sat on a bench under a tree just outside the glass doors. The music started. Applause.
Vows.
Laughter. Inside, life was moving forward without me. I sat still, hands folded on the gift in my lap, heart silent. The air was warm, but I felt cold. I didn't cry. I just stared at the cloth and whispered, I love you. Hours passed. I stood up slowly, left the gift near the entrance, and walked away. I didn't look back. I walked home under a sky that had shifted to deep purple, a hue of endings. My feet ached. My soul ached more. When I arrived, I took off the dress, folded it neatly, and placed it in a box. I sat on my bed and stared at the ceiling, remembering every sacrifice. That's when I felt the sharp pain in my chest. At first, I thought it was emotional, but then I gasped. I reached for the table, my legs trembling, vision blurred. The walls spun. I fell to the floor, clutching my chest, gasping for air. The last thing I saw before darkness swallowed me was the photo of Nathaniel as a child, holding a paper crown, shouting, "You're the queen, Ma." Nathaniel got the call just before the wedding dinner. His phone buzzed again and again until he finally answered. The color drained from his face. His bride asked what was wrong, but he couldn't speak. He left the table, walked outside, and sat alone on the stone steps. He stared at the ground, numb. At the hospital, he sat in the waiting room, holding my old coat someone had brought from the ambulance. The gift I left behind was returned to him later by the wedding staff, still unopened. When he finally unwrapped it, the embroidery read, "To Nathaniel and Eliza, from the one who taught you how to love." He visited my grave a week later. No fanfare, no tuxedo, just a son, smaller, quieter, and broken. He knelt beside the stone and ran his fingers over my name. He cried, whispered apologies, and left the cloth there, placing it gently at the foot of the headstone. The wind rustled through the trees like a sigh. "You were never ugly," he whispered. "I was just blind." He walked away slower than he had ever walked before, but something had shifted. He began visiting the grave weekly, bringing fresh flowers and reading old letters I had written him as a child. Letters he had stored but never opened. Months passed. He reached out to the neighbor who used to help me with groceries. She shared stories of how often I spoke of him, even when my eyes were tired, even when my heart was heavy. Nathaniel began volunteering at senior homes, offering meals, offering time, trying to heal, trying to honor. At his first anniversary with Eliza, they visited my grave together, hand in hand. This